One of the questions I like to ask people right off the bat when I when I want to learn more about kind of their journey of looking at software is, what were the organizational issues that you were trying to solve that caused you to reach out to us in the first place? What was behind this software buying journey that you bit off?
Well, I guess just the fact that we need to have software we can trust that's going to be there, and a partner we can trust going forward. I mean, everything we do is running through the software. So any good we want to do is tied to that software. So we just needed to make sure that we've got somebody we can trust, and things are going to work the way they need to. So it seems funny to say right now where we are, but our life should not be about Foundant. It should almost be an invisible tool for us. And that's where we needed to go. And that's what we were trying to do. And we need to stop succeeding in spite of our software.
No, great. Anything to add, Josie or
No,
Leah?
I think he's hit the nail right on the head.
Okay.
I think one of the issues we were having, or one of the things we realized, is we have such nuanced needs. You know, as a foundation, we run different than so many of our peers, and we have similarities, but how we think about our work is different. And so, just the ability to kind of take our custom needs and fit it into, and have a system really just support those needs. Like Andrew said, invisible, but yet stable, and yet something that's integral to our success.
Great. Would you say that your previous systems were maybe limiting some of the organization's ability to think about the future and where you were going to need to be years down the road versus just needing to solve your transactional problems today?
Absolutely. And we were focusing more and more attention on it and working around it. And that takes time out of your day for all of us. And again, that means I'm sort of repeating myself from the last answer, but we kept circling back to where if we're spending that much time maintaining the car, then we're not driving the car.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it was definitely holding us back. It was driving the way we do business, and that's not what we were looking for. We wanted to do business for the right reasons and not because this is the only capability that the system has to do it.
Great. So how did Foundant get on your radar in the first place, and what had maybe you heard about Foundant that put us on your list of options that you would consider?
For me, it was at the FOD conference last year when we sat in a meeting and we were told that the things we were looking for probably would not happen. We couldn't get a straight answer, and we saw the bulk of the room leave the session and walk right straight to the Foundant table. So for the accounting people, that's when it really hit the spot.
Yeah, and I'd been talking to Chris Dahl for several years at TAG, and we were not ready to move. And it didn't bother him, and it wasn't like, oh, well, you're not a sales. So, but he kept talking, and we kept chatting. And I kept learning more about you guys. And then eventually when we were finally able to get serious and we started looking, we've never had anybody give you guys the testimonials that they had. Yeah. And then we decided, all right, maybe there's something to this.
Good. Anything, Leah?
They made the decision well before I came on the scene. I'm just glad it was the right decision. Right. So I'm just along for the ride.
So we know when you started looking at options and got serious, okay, we need to go see what else is out there, and hired a consultant to help you with some of that process. As you were going through those demos and discussions with us and other vendors, what ultimately chose you or drove you to choose Foundant as the option to partner with?
Well, we had made a decision we definitely wanted integrated. That was sort of our baseline before we went in. That was our prejudice, and if we were going to do everything we could to make an integrated system work. And so that was certainly focus one. And then we looked, and our options, there wasn't a ton of options out there for us. But we looked at one company and yeah, they look good, but they're really small. And we looked at somebody else and yeah, it's a nice product, but it's already out of date and we don't really have a lot of confidence that they're gonna keep up. And then we looked at another company and we didn't like the product or the company. And then we met you guys and we'll be honest, it was a good product with a great company and you guys had a plan to make the software better, and our experience has been products can get better, but companies don't generally change. So if we were gonna throw our lot in, this was somebody who we could throw our lot in, and you guys were probably there was no reason to think that you wouldn't stay on the track you guys had been on. And there was no reason to think it wouldn't get better. And it wasn't like we felt like we were taking a big risk with the software, but it was, like I said, it was good.
Yeah.
But the company was great, and we felt like you guys had a plan to make the software as good as the company. And so we decided to sort of take that leap. And you guys have made a lot of changes that have gotten a lot of the way there already in 6 months.
That's great. Anything to add? Okay, cool. What was your biggest fear heading into the project?
The size of the conversion was really the amount of work that we were going to go into with it, and also not sure that at this point in our career, in our finance careers, we were ready for such a big change. Finance people don't like change, and we had to make a lot of changes because what we were using wasn't fulfilling our needs. And we wanted to make sure that we were walking in with the right information. So that was the biggest fear for me in finance.
Yeah, and Leah, how about you on the grant side? Because you guys really bit off something that was a lot more grand than a lot of our clients do, choosing to implement CommunitySuite and fully convert your financial system and your donor portal and your CRM, and right alongside of that, do your scholarships and your grants. So tell us about scholarships and grants. What was scary there?
I think it was scary to just the concept of changing what you do and setting it ablaze and saying, we're going to try a new system. But also doing it all at one time, and then knowing that the pieces are going to talk to each other and not knowing the answer, but still moving ahead. That was the part that I think that was a little bit scary, or a lot scary, for me at least. Just all of it at one time. But I will say that through the process, it was one of those things that we would say, we don't know how, but it's going to work out. And we're going to figure it out. And sometimes it was us just learning the language, learning how Foundant thinks about things, and let's put their brain on. Okay, why is it designed this way? And said, oh, now it makes sense. But a lot of times it was just it was the translation, your world, our world, and how are we getting to the same point using different language.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell you guys how much that little statement is one of the things that made us say yes to you. You demonstrated a willingness to meet us halfway, and attitude and kind of cultural alignment, is a big part of this. And while you guys were evaluating us, we were also evaluating you to make sure that this was going to work. So that's great. So how would you say, reality compared to those fears?
It was a lot of work. It built us as a team. We now trust one another, which is great. And we trust Foundant now. And we really feel like we have a real partner. And it's nice to say that at any given time, I send a little email with an issue that we're having or a question, and I have somebody answering it immediately. And if they can't answer, they're saying, I'll get right back to you. That's the trust issue, and just holding us accountable to do the work that we needed to do to get where we got. Yeah. And not just saying, okay, here you go, we'll fix it for you. We had to do some of the work, and we had to hold each other up in addition to having Foundant hold us up.
Yeah, and having nothing to do with you guys, but internally they're trying to do a lot of work to break down our internal silos, and they keep pointing to us and the team, and it's not just the three of us, there's an extended team beyond us, but they point to that table and us and that transition to this as, look, it can be done. Look at what they did. It was all departments, and there was lots of things, and there was lots of give and take. And then there was the give and take with you guys and how to fix those and work on those issues. And it all worked out. Yeah. And we're being held up sort of internally as an example for, yes, you can actually work across departments.
Wow, it's great, and you guys deserve to be held up. I know and heard the hours and the effort that was being put forth. So you said something interesting last night with Bonnie, saying that, you know what, people, you're going to maybe hear people say that your baby isn't so beautiful sometimes.
Right.
Don't take that personally. Can you talk a little bit about that?
We do feel that we raised our own child. And yes, we do take it personally when somebody says, well, why isn't this working? And why isn't this, why can't we do this? And we take it personally, but we also know that if they're asking for it, maybe it's something we need to bring back to the team and say, this is something that we'd like to see. And in other times, we just say, this is how it's going to work, and we make it work. And we sometimes tell them that, oh, Foundant can't do that.
That's all right.
That's all right. We don't tell them that.
Their own fault. They didn't do the training labs.
You can blame us sometimes. That's fine. You've earned that.
I think for me, it's really been about creating a learning culture about adopting this new software, that although it is our baby, like this is the baby of the village, right? So this software is something we're all learning in process. So yeah, you click that button and you should have clicked a different button. So that's a user error. And yes, maybe it said, pardon our error, there was a problem with a report, but just refresh your page and Foundant fixed it. Look. And so part of it has just been changing how we talk about the system and how we learn together. We're not the experts internally. We know a little bit more than our peers, but it's all of our babies. This is a organizational shift. I think that was important for us, is to get leadership's buy-in and say, listen, this is what's best for the organization, not just for each unit, one department, but organizationally, this is how we're going to reorient ourselves about our work.
Cool. Talk a little bit more about how the software impacts the entire organization, because that's one of the things that has probably been most surprising to us. We're used to seeing other solutions used by a couple of people, and even our grants and scholarship management solution being used by a very small part of the organization. And one of the really cool things that we're seeing with CommunitySuite is that it's pretty pervasive across the organization. Can you talk about kind of the breadth of the users at the organization?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is, as a foundation, we would make decisions in silos, right? Oh, my department needs this, so I'm going to do it this way. Or standards in the system. We didn't really have those across the organization, but the moment that we sit together as a team and say, okay, these are our organizational standards. We're going to change the way everyone does it. Not just in grants because Leah wants it this way, but this is how we best serve the organization. It changed the way that we do our work, from the the admins, director's admins, to the president of the company being able to log in and change something. My VP came down to my office a week ago and said, I found a check number. I found when it went out. Right, and that
I didn't
kind
have
of
to
changed.
ask.
I didn't have to ask,
Yeah.
and she could have, right? But the system is so that if you need something, here, type it in, find the trail, everything connects, and now you have your answer, where that person would have had to just tell their admin to run me a report, but they themselves can do it. And so it's shifting just the way that we think about our work, and the ability for people in leadership even, who are oftentimes not the workhorses in systems, they too can. So
That's great.
And when we were working this, installing the system and implementing it, we sat at the table and Leah would come up with an idea and she'd say, how does this impact you? How is this going to impact the finance department? How is this going to impact the donor services department? So we could sit as a group and know that we're all intertwined. And something may start in C-suite, go to GLM, go back to C-suite, okay, and we follow the path. And we're making educated decisions.
Absolutely, yeah. The old workflow was very much, well, we'd used the old system for 25 years. And so much of our departmental structure was built around that. And now it's, like she said, it's starting in C-suite with Department A and going to Department B in GLM, and now it's coming back to C-suite and to other and now it's coming back to finance. And so it's changing. Things are moving throughout the software and throughout the departments. So it's really become clear that we have to treat this as a foundation-wide project.
Cool. So how many total staff members would you say are, in the software?
We're a little new. We're a little new. So I'd say eventually we'll probably, out of 65, we'll probably have 50 people who are in there touching it every day. And another 10 or so who are sporadic. And then we will, but right now it's a little, there's still a fair amount of deployment going on. So, but I think eventually it's going to be by far the majority of folks between the CRM, the grants, communications, whatever. Our goal is to get everything in there.
Even our CIO is looking at putting her information in there, her
That's
contact information, and getting the profile set up. So that's
pretty
really
cool.
nice.
Yeah, that is awesome. So far, what's been the biggest benefit, and what do you, and maybe, so a short-term benefit maybe, and then what do you envision being the bigger long-term benefits, if they're different?
I think Andrew spoke to breaking down silos.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think that because we were such a team and we did a lot of laughing because what were we going to do? There was nights where things got a little silly and we got a little loud. But what happened was, I think people were envious of that almost. Like, look at this group. They're always having a good time. They're always working. They're always running to each other's offices. They're having intelligent conversations. I want to be part of that. So don't you feel that was really one of the big things for us, was that Foundant has brought these people together who, not that we don't talk to each other, but there's a trust there. And I think that's one of the things that Foundant brought to us, was a trust that we are all in this for the good of the foundation. And what's the saying that they always tell us? Assume good.
Positive intent.
Assume positive intent.
Cool. So how much of that was our people versus our software that helped, bring that together?
I don't know where I'd be without my CSM, and someone asked, like, who's your CSM? And, Elise is our CSM, which is great. But then I started thinking of all the people who aren't necessarily assigned to us in formal fashion, and maybe they are on your end, but all the people in your team that we know, like, you see your Maddies, you see your Sammies, your Chris's, all the Chris's, right? But I think that's been the part that has made this transition unique, I would say. Not only the relationships you've built, but also the understanding around the product, that even knowing the mission of Foundant and connecting it to knowing that our questions and our requests are oftentimes linked to the furthering the mission of Foundant. Okay, we're gonna optimize our philanthropic impact and this is why I'm asking you this. This is why it makes sense. And then, and we're building something together. And so the people to me, it's equal. It's a good 50-50 split. And the software is great, and the people are even better, So it's been a privilege.
Yeah, what she said.
Good. As you guys, work with your executive management team, you guys are probably viewed as kind of the right-hand gang now, I'm guessing. What are are there, and your concerns about the future and the direction of where the Community Foundation is going, and what potential role does Foundant play in that?
I'm looking at them.
We're going through a lot of. They're still hammering out a strategic plan. We're in the process of developing one. So there's a certain amount of gray, or not sure exactly in those details, and there isn't a lot of questioning about, well, can Foundant do this or can Foundant do that? They're making a lot of assumptions, and we're hoping they're going to come. They're going to come true, and we're hoping they're well-placed confidence that it's going to come through, and when they were involved in the selection, you met with them, and that was clear. They were always looking way more to the future than right now. They were not really concerned with first quarter 2019 as we get this thing up and running. They've always been a lot more concerned about what it's going to look like a year from now and 2 years from now. And I think they're just taking that same leap of faith we took when we talked about all those enhancements that you agreed to back in July, and they had to get done, and we made plans that they were going to be done, and they were done. But that I think that's just where they're taking that same leap.
That we're really committed to this sector, and we're going to keep investing. Yeah. Okay. So what excites you the most about the future of your organization, and what role can Foundant play to help support that?
I think from the grant side, what I realize is the possibilities in GLM and SLM are almost endless. We can ask all sorts of questions. We can report on all sorts of fields. But the question is how we design the system. Does it best suit the needs for the foundation now and then in the future? And I think one of the things that I'm most excited about is that we've really been strategic in how we have designed the system. And so we know that that Foundant can support us in all our future endeavors. But what do we really want to do as a foundation, and figuring out what that is so that the system can support us? And gone are the days that the system drives our work. We're kind of back to that. But what is it that we really want to do to maximize our mission? And let's see how Foundant can do that, can support.
Absolutely. And it's not just the grant side. I think on the donor side too. And we're looking at the gifts and the donor portal, and again, it's becoming, we can start that. We can get back to start asking questions. What do you want to do? What makes sense? What do the donors need? What do the grantees need? What do you want to do? Okay, now let's figure out the best way to get that done. And if we hit a limitation here or there, fine. But it's not let's just start with the limitations of the system and see the best we can do there. We can start with what we want to do, and then go, and that seems like the right way to do things. That seems like the right order.
Yeah, and I think it's a way more rewarding way to work and fulfilling way to work. Well, you guys should be proud of what you've accomplished. Are you proud of what you've accomplished?
Absolutely. If you think about it, we really had 3 projects going simultaneously, all of which caused huge disruption. One were all the changes we were making to the procedures and operations that really didn't have to do with the software transition.
Yeah.
Just the inherent changes we had to do that were long overdue. Then there was the normal transition, or the actual transition from software A to software B. Then there was all the work you guys were doing and all the transitions you guys were making, which were not insignificant to the way the software works. So we're learning and sort of kind of beta testing, and all of that is happening, and it's all happening in that same November to January simultaneously, and any one of those things is enough to cause you headaches and late nights. And we were doing all 3 of them. So I'm feeling like we came out of this pretty good. And I mean the collective, the blue shirts sitting in this room too.
Yeah, good. Well, our team is very proud of the work they did.
And they should be.
Yeah.
Yes. We don't know where we would be without them. At least I don't.
Yeah.
I can say that.
Absolutely. We are just maybe 2 days ago, we were talking and Josie was pouring over her notes and saying, do you know how far we've come? And I said, yeah.
Yes, I do.
You know, it's really been that far. And not just learning a new system, also as a team, and also in our relationship even with your team. So it's been an exceptional journey, and we're still on it.
Yeah, we have a long way still to go.
But yeah, I'm sure it feels like a long time, but it's been 6 months, really. You know, that's boom, you know? So yeah, it's been a long journey, but you know, I think a lot of people anticipate that these journeys will take 2 or 3 years, and again, it will continue to evolve, but holy cow, we've accomplished a lot together in 6 months.
Yes, yes. Yeah, when we push that last button.
And would you do it again at the time of year that you did it again, or?
I don't know that we'd have any options. I don't know that we would run parallel as long as we did. That really was difficult because of the volume. Just pure volume.
I think we might have stretched things out a little. There's always what could you have done better, and I think we might have stretched out. I think we might have focused on some aspects a little sooner. Not emphasized some other thing. But that's just, you know, too smart to, you know, you always know now. And whenever it happens, I'll be long off in the sunset. I'm not sure I'll survive another one. But it's small things like that. I mean, overall, I think we made the best decisions we could, and we didn't make any dumb decisions. But in retrospect, hindsight's always 20/20. And yeah, we could have focused on this a little more. And yeah, we could have knocked the run parallel down a little bit. And maybe we could have staggered out some of the deployment on some of the pieces a little more. But maybe not, because there's always the external factors going on, and there's more than just this room. As much as we like to think about you and the team, there's all the rest of the world and the foundation going on. And there would have been some other external forces coming in. So I don't know that there's ever a way to make it smooth, but.
And it would have just dragged out the agony at some point, you know, so this was good. We put our time in. We still have a lot of time to put in, but we put our time in and we feel like we've accomplished something.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right.